On today's motorcycle therapy, we're going from Ecuador to Peru, so stick around.
Just checking to see if you're listening, blah, blah, blah. Just checking to see if you're listening.
If you want to support me, check out one of my books. My first book, Motorcycle Therapy, is a book. It's an ebook. It's even an audiobook. And speaking of support, give this video a thumbs up if you like it, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. YouTube loves it when you do that.
Camera,
right.
Jeremy.
Yeah, I'm Jeremy. Hi, I'm Jeremy. On today's motorcycle therapy, we're going from Vilcabamba, Ecuador, to Peru. Yeah, we went to Vilcabamba. We spent a few days there while I finished up an article for Canada Moto Guide, and then we headed south. And everyone told us that it's just like a couple hours to the border, but we decided to take a little bit more of an adventurous road. So instead of taking the normal way to Peru, which would have been a quick and easy ride, we went south. The guidebook even said, before you take this route, check the condition of the road.
Well, it sounds like a pretty good recommendation.
But my opinion was, what do you mean check the condition of the road? Even if the road is in horrible condition, we have motorcycles that are good for off-road and gravel. So why don't we take it? Even if it is horrible, it'll just be fun.
There's a difference between Canada horrible and Ecuador horrible.
This is a fact. And we did not check the condition of the road. We just lit off to point south. And for a while, the road was fine, paved, twisty.
Pretty? Beautiful?
Yeah, beautiful. There was bananas growing and all these terraced fields and things like that. And then we came to a little washed out section. So we're gonna see how this little crossing goes. And it was, in fact, slipperier and more hazardous than I thought it was.
But did you tell me that at the time?
No, in fact, I purposely did not tell you because we had to keep going.
So I went through the mud, and I wasn't too worried about falling off the mountain. It was steep, but that was a little ways off to the side. I was just worried about falling in that mess. And I could picture how messy that would be. I would be coated in mud, my bike would be coated in mud, all my luggage would be coated in mud. It'd be an awful mess.
It would be an awful mess. Relax, you're gonna be great. But I could see that Elle was determined, and she...
Hesitant, but determined, which means you're going to be waiting a long time.
Look ahead, you got it, you got it. But I wasn't, hurting you in any way, I don't think, or feeling impatient at all. I was just...
Staring at me.
Well, with the camera.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was the only real problem on that road. After that...
There were other spots that were also wet and slimy, but none as significant as that one.
Yeah, it turned into a fantastic gravel road. It was raining on us that day, I think, off and on, so there was some wet spots, but nothing like that washout again.
Just before we came to the border with Ecuador, there was a weird military checkpoint that we weren't expecting.
That's right. We basically asked them, are we on the right path? And they said, oh yeah.
And he just pointed, turn right and go down there, and you could almost see the border from there.
But we arrived at the border somewhere around lunchtime. I don't remember exactly when.
A little after, but they were gone for lunch. A lot of the workers, I don't know how many normally work there. We only saw 2 humans working at the border.
Yeah, this was the most relaxed border crossing that I've ever been to. And they were thrilled to see us. We gave them stickers.
Yeah.
So there's a motorcycle therapy sticker in several places at that border. They put them on the windows themselves. And they basically said, yeah, just go across the road and get a snack. And then they came.
He left his office, walked across the street and down this block,
Yeah.
and said, hey, here you go. Your paperwork's right here for you.
Yeah.
We're like, what? Wow. Well, I've never had service like this at a border crossing.
And then they actually asked for us to pose with them for photos.
Yeah.
It was very friendly and very relaxed.
And a little weird.
It was a little bit weird. and then we crossed the bridge into Peru. So we're now in a new country.
Yay! Woohoo!
But there was a barrier, one of those arms that lifts up, and I stopped and you stopped before the barrier, but nobody was giving us any guidance.
Nobody comes out to see what you're doing. Yeah.
So I actually did think about lifting the arm, and
just driving through.
we could probably squeak underneath and then park our motorcycles and go find the paperwork. But you don't really want to mess around with that kind of thing at a border. So we get our paperwork stamped, we get on the road, and fortunately, the road was paved. But we raced to the town, I think it was San Ignacio, and it
was dark by the time we got there.
so we went down the road to a town that I can't pronounce.
Hayen.
We get our insurance and we hit the road again, and now we're kind of heading towards the coast and the Pan American Highway. The sun is going down again, and now the roads are getting less interesting. The closer we get to the Pan American Highway, the less interesting the roads are, the more chaotic the traffic is. And we had dogs chasing us, charging us. I've got a strategy for these dogs. You can usually tell, I'm usually in the front, and you can often tell which dogs are going to be a problem and which ones are going to chase you.
Some of them are just loudmouths, and some of them really want to bite your leg off.
So what I do, and I don't recommend this, it's just what I do, is I can see a dog eyeing me up, and what I'll do is I'll actually point my motorcycle towards this dog and actually rev my engine. So quite often the dog will take a few charging steps and then back like this, and then won't bother Elle.
Yeah.
And finally we reach a city. Anyway, we didn't reach the town we were trying for, but we got to a shelter for the night.
There was a beautiful hotel with underground parking, with everything we needed. It was great.
Yeah.
And about double the price we would normally pay.
Yeah, so, but we took it, like it's nighttime now, and we settled in for the night. And the next day we hit the Pan American Highway. So not much to report on that day's drive. We arrived in
Huanchaco.
So we're in Peru, we're right on the beach. We just had lunch here, and you can see the beach over here. And we're just about to go get a place to sleep. Elle is going to lead the way.
We found a restaurant, and then the guy just told us that he had a place in the back if we wanted to rent it, and we could park our bikes. So we did. And then once we were parked and had food in us and walked around, there were some pretty parts of that town.
Yeah. And then in the morning, now we can segue in to another video that I did called Flat Tire in Peru. It picks up right from this point here. Then that segues right into Canyon del Pato, which segues right into my next video called Cordillera Blanca, which segues into nothing.